It's not when you're at the top. When you're at the top, you've got all the risk. I'm looking for people who have nothing to take the risk and make something of your life and do something. This is what the Underdog Society is all about.
You've just tuned in to the Underdog Society podcast, featuring Mr. Trever and Dee. Underdogs Unite.
Hey guys, welcome to the Underdog Society podcast. My name is Trever Varney.
And I am Next D. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, SoundCloud, and TreverVarney.com.
The reason you're listening today, because my name's Trever Varney. I'm the guy that took a $50,000 loan, turned to $30 million in revenue over 7 years. I've sold over 5,000 motorcycles. I've had 5 locations. I've built new locations. I've bought someone else's location and turned it into a successful business. And I've lost a business and sold 2 and closed a store. So I've done a lot. So I've got a little bit of experience, over 30 jobs, which brings us to our point. Today, we're going to be talking about how to keep your job after that successful interview.
All right.
Today, it's brought to us by David Studio on Fiverr. Make sure you check it out. We'll put a link in the bio. He does all of our producing for this podcast. So when you like the quality of the sound, that's why.
Thanks, David.
All right, so keeping the job. That's what we're going to talk about today. We talked about the interview, which I know it sounded like a hard process.
Right.
That's the easy part.
Right.
Just like life, it never gets easier. Now you've gotten that job that you've worked so hard to get. You've become likable. You've done the follow-up. You've dressed the part. You've met the managers and you know, it's really all about who you know. We talked about all that on the last podcast.
Right.
Today, keeping the job, a lot of those same traits are going to be there. The first thing you can do when you talk about appearance isn't just how you look, it's how you act.
Right.
The number one thing you can do for appearance when you start a new job is be on time.
Absolutely.
For me, being on time is 5 minutes early. I think if you adapt that in your life, you'll always be happier. And it's not easy to do. The mornings where I get up earlier and I have time to enjoy my morning and then I get to work early are much more enjoyable than the times when I have to rush and be stressed and drive through traffic. There's a reason I'm the guy on the road who's casually driving and not rushing to get to work because I leave on time and I get there early. If you can apply this at a young age, is one of the most successful tools you can have for keeping a job.
Right. It could be the difference between you keeping a job and leaving. If you show up on time, somebody's going to recognize that pattern versus if you're always late and you do mess up, it's a lot easier to fire you when you haven't showed up on time.
I've had good employees and bad employees, and sometimes there's bad employees who are always here, never sick and on time, who I've wanted to keep, not bad employees, but not as good technically as other employees, but they can't make it on time. And they don't make it. I mean, at the end of the day, that's the one thing you can do to secure your job is be there every day on time.
That's a good one.
Obviously, once you're interviewing for the job, it's all about who you know and staying likable or being likable, but you have to stay likable.
Right.
It's funny to me because I do a lot of this naturally. I Michael Scott myself a lot. Like, I purposely enjoy when people like me and I don't like when they don't like me.
Yeah.
And I try and train myself not to be like that, to not care what other people think. And I don't even think it's what, like, my perception of people only matters to people I like. Like, I like you, so I want you to like me.
Right.
But if I didn't like you, I wouldn't give a fuck what you think.
Right.
So when you say don't care what people think, I mean, there is a level where you should care what people think. And those are your peers and the people that you enjoy being around or that you work with.
Right. And sometimes you're not going to like your boss, but does that mean that you don't come in with a positive attitude and be grateful for the money that you actually are making?
Sometimes you don't like broccoli, but you eat it to stay healthy.
That's right.
So I don't care if you don't like your boss or not. You better pretend to.
Right.
Even if you have to trick yourself.
Right.
There are times in life where I trick myself into believing something.
Yeah.
And I do that with sales when I'm working. Sometimes I feel like I am losing everything, and sometimes I have to feel like I am. And I tell you what, I work harder because there's that intent and that urgency.
Right. And if you, with your boss, if you don't like them, kind of study what about them that you don't like, because that might be that one customer that you have that is exactly like that, that you're study them and you know exactly, oh, this is what you're about. This is how I approach you. And you can make it a better relationship that way.
And feel free to look in the mirror.
Right.
The reason you don't like your boss is maybe he doesn't like you.
Right.
What you work for him. What are you doing that he doesn't like? And what can you do better to make him like you? Then in turn, you would like him more.
Right.
Because that's a lot of times, that's what it is. You know, when you don't like people, it's because they don't like you. If someone likes you and you like them, it goes both ways. So use that as a re-engineering technology to figure out how to get him to like you more by liking him more and building that relationship.
Right.
And part of that is putting more in than you take out.
Woo, that's a good one.
Yeah, my grandpa's been telling me that since I was a kid. He's like, put more into a job than you take out. If you do that, you'll always have a job.
Yeah.
And this is coming from a guy who worked at Procter & Gamble for 40 years.
Right.
That was how jobs used to work.
Sure.
Jobs aren't like that anymore.
No.
But you can still use old school tactics and ethics to be productive in a new age of ways to make money.
Right.
And new jobs. Like, just because you're not working a large manufacturing plant where you make $25 an hour with full benefits for 40 years and those jobs aren't around doesn't mean you can't still put in effort in the job you have, whether you're there for a day, a week, 6 months, or 5 years.
Right.
Because it's practice. You're putting in that effort now to get good at that job, to get better at your next job.
That is definitely a recurring theme. We've talked about practice in interviewing. Now we're talking about practice in keeping the job.
And it's not like it used to be with jobs where people keep them for a long time. I mean, that's the biggest change that I've seen. And I always thought it was me. I was like, man, why can't I keep a job?
I thought the same thing. I was right there with you.
Those jobs don't exist where you can work a job for, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But you better be aware of that and keep an eye out for opportunities to move forward and grow and not be stuck in the job you're at, especially if you're not happy.
For sure. So put in more than you take out.
Absolutely. Which means if you should always be in a position at your job where you feel like you deserve more money. The point where you feel like you're making the money you deserve.
Right. Time to get a new job.
Yeah. Now, hopefully that's met with pay raises.
Yes.
And increases and respect from your job. And if not, go find another one.
Right.
But you should always be putting more in than you take out.
Right. And business owners at that point, if you see somebody putting in more than they're taking out, acknowledge it. Whether that's acknowledging it with money or acknowledging it with your words. Trever sends thank you emails out once a quarter that really make people feel good about working.
Because it's real and I appreciate it. And sometimes there's not always that extra money.
Right.
And sometimes you got to know the job that you take. You know, we're not a giant corporation. We're a small business.
Correct. And don't evaluate what your boss has based upon and think that because your boss has something that you should be there too. People all the time, Trever has a Lamborghini. People all the time are like, well, because Trever has a Lamborghini, well, Trever worked freaking hard for that Lamborghini.
Yeah, I mean, I put 3 or 4 years in with no employees. You know, we had 3 before I even started hiring more employees. And then I bought one of my first nice cars.
Right.
I bought an Audi R8. That week, I had 4 people ask for a pay raise.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, like the real answer is I just bought an R8. How am I supposed to afford the pay raise? No, but I've been saving for that. And that's, you know, don't view my personal financial situation with yours. And if you've been there for 4 weeks, just because I have a nice car doesn't mean that you get a pay raise or that I have extra money.
Right. This is personal money versus business money. Don't cross those two up. And as a matter of fact, it's not your business what goes on in Trever or your boss's personal life.
So part of keeping the job is being likable, finding out how to become friends with your boss, and do a good job, put more in than you take out, and then you get more money, and then you get to buy nice stuff like that.
Correct.
So it's a full circle process. All the people that have bad attitudes who think that because someone else has something that they deserve it, don't work here.
Right.
And you know what? They might have a job somewhere else, but they ain't going to work there long either.
Right.
Because that's just a bad attitude in life.
Right.
Maybe go and say, hey, you know what? You have an awesome car. What can I do in this job to help you make more money so you can buy 5 of these cars and I can buy 5 of these cars? I mean, it's a teamwork effort.
Right.
And some people have been on the team longer than others. And some people, you know, you never realize how much someone else has put in until you've walked in their, you know, you walked in their shoes.
Right. Kirk told me the other day, he was like, you touch every single bike that leaves out of here. And I'm like, I do touch every single bike that leaves out of here.
You're responsible for every single sale that happens in this business.
Every single sale. So, but nobody knows what I do up here, sitting up here in the office. And if I go to church early or do this, I've worked here for a very long time. And you and I have a very good rapport.
Well, you know, so I filled out an application the other day and they asked me what kind of business we had, retail or online. And I was like, you know, what? I don't know how to answer that because I would say online because we're very progressive and that's the direction I want to go.
Right.
Yet most of our online, we suck the customers in online, but then they buy in person.
Right.
So how would you class that? I mean, there's not even a classification for that on the application.
Both of them are sales, you know, like.
Well, you can't select 2. That's what I'm saying. It's like
you just have to pick.
Yep.
And then, so how does that person who's evaluating that application see that business? I mean, see your business, because if you're like, well, it's online, sometimes people are like, oh, you can't make any money online.
Of course.
And then it's like, oh, it's retail. Well, then how come you're not selling online? So you never know what that person's looking for.
Yeah, and this is why I always fail tests, because I've always been a people pleaser, and I never like to be 100% decisive when it comes to an opinion-based thing like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I don't want to say that I'm all online, because then the retail people don't like me, and it's vice versa.
Right.
That's like, I don't mind being 100% decisive on a decision versus a position.
Woo,
Those,
that's a quote.
yeah,
That's a quote.
That's the difference. You know, you hear people say that you have to make decisions, and I'll tell you that if you can't make, that's the number one reason I'm in the position I'm in, because I can make a good, quick decision instantly.
Right. And
my brain can quantify everything that's involved in this decision and say yes or no quickly.
Right.
But I also sit on the fence on every decision I make too. But those are the differences.
Right.
And you have to know that, because people hear that and like, well, I have to make a decision. Well, all right, I'm a hardcore Republican and I believe in only these things. Like, no, you can sit on the fence on certain issues that are, you know, I don't, not even trying to bring politics in, because that's the last thing we want to talk about.
Right.
But the being decisive are two separate things.
Right.
And just because you are decisive and believe in something doesn't mean you can't change your mind.
Right.
And grow and become better.
Or that's your position, or that's your identity. Just because of those things, just because you made some decisions and have some opinions, that doesn't have to be your only position. But we digress. So we've talked about keeping the job.
Which is, you know, what we're trying to do right now. We started the podcast.
Right.
We want to keep you listening.
Right.
And when we digress on stuff like that, it's because we're having fun.
Right.
Which, in your job, whatever you're doing, if you're not having fun, I mean, that's, even over all the other BS, that is the one thing that's going to keep you at your job and making money, having fun. You've got to figure out how to have a good time.
Right.
And enjoy what you do. And if you're not, go find another job.
Right.
We have a sales job, a lot of sales jobs here, and I try and explain to them, because let's say you sell one thing a day if you're lucky, but you don't know when they're going to come in. So you literally have to be prepared from 9 in the morning till 6 o'clock at night.
Right.
That sucks when a sale takes you 45 minutes. That means 8.5 hours of your day are doing nothing. So you've got to figure out how to fill the time doing productive stuff. But also you got to find a way to spend 2 or 3 hours of your day having fun and enjoying the job that you have.
Right.
For me, I always prefer to use that networking. You know, if I had a free hour, I would go talk to people, you know, when you're in a bigger business or a smaller business, but I would go talk to the owner. I would go talk to the managers. I would talk to people in different departments, and I would make friends with these people.
Yes.
And I don't even think I did it on purpose, because I've, you know, coming from the professional wrestling background, I traveled all over the country and I met lots of different people. And I don't think you realize how well the networking worked until you see it in action. So I would do that. And even to this day, jobs I had 10 years ago, I'm friends with the guy who makes $8 an hour who works at a parts counter. But now I happen to buy a vehicle that needs that part, and now I still get 25% off because I'm friends with that guy.
Right.
Because I took the time to network and use and have fun. It's fun to network and get to know people.
Yeah.
And then those people have friends. You know, when the guy in the parts department, his brother wants to buy a car, who's the salesman he comes and finds? The guy who was friendly to him.
Right.
This is all part of networking. And this is social networking that I was doing before there was a social network.
Right. Right.
You know, when you talk about the spider web of people that you can get online and keeping these customers and creating new leads, and there's 2 billion on Facebook. Well, there may be only a few hundred, but I would do those handshake by handshake, just going and meeting people and building those same type of relationships in my job networking. And then, you know, the cool thing is a lot of the people that you work with at a job don't stay there forever.
Right.
And then, so if you're in the same industry, you know, especially automotive, I mean, it couldn't be every manager I know of 20 different dealerships that I spend time at has worked at another dealership.
Right.
I usually don't know them from the dealership that they're at. Or I knew 5 guys at one dealership, and now I know 5 dealerships because all those people got better and became managers
at different dealerships.
Correct.
That's cool. Yeah. And it works for any industry, guys. If you're a consultant, consult the crap out of it. You know what I mean? Find your pyramid of people that you can handshake to handshake, build that foundation, move it online, and keep it moving. It's that simple.
Yeah. So have fun doing it. So these are all tactics, you know, showing up on time, looking the part, networking, being nice, getting to like your boss, and having fun. that can keep you in the job, putting more than you put in.
Yeah.
And that doesn't just mean work. That means everything, attitude, network, on time.
Right. Cool.
And now we're going to talk about the part that nobody wants to talk about.
Right.
That's inevitable, the breakup.
But it is important. It is important.
Leaving the job correctly.
Right.
The reason this is so important is for the last thing we talked about, networking. So when you work at a job, you network, and you know, whether you believe it or not, you've networked because everyone there knows who you are.
Right.
Whether you've networked and made those relationships, they know you.
Right.
Whether you've left a positive attitude with them or a negative attitude with them.
You've spent 40 hours a week there. People know you. So how are they going to know you?
Yeah. So the way you leave that job puts everyone on notice.
Yeah.
When you don't turn in 2 weeks' notice. When you walk out and other people have to do the job for you. Let's say you're getting a job in the same industry. You know, I mean, I definitely won't specify specific people because there's like 30 of them. You know, you know what, I will talk about someone, I don't want to mention names, but someone very recently that no longer works here who left correctly, thanked me, I thanked him, and the door is now open to return.
Right.
I've also called 2 other dealerships that I think they would be a good fit and said, hey, if you're looking for a young salesperson, this guy would be great for you.
Yeah.
Because of the good attitude and the good leaving. Now, I would never burn bridges for anyone purposely. But I'm also not going to lie for someone who didn't do their job correctly.
Right.
And I've had people, because this is a small industry,
For sure.
especially, you know, there's thousands and thousands of dealerships and employees, but a lot of people work together and network and go to conferences. Like, oh, what happened to that one, you know, manager that worked with you? Oh, well, he's no longer here. Oh, what happened? Well, you know, he's no longer here.
Right.
Well, why? I prefer not to talk about it. He knows something bad happened without me even burning a bridge, because I will purposely try not to vent any, you know, personal.
Yeah.
But people know. They know when you left a place properly or not. And when we have the same parts reps that come in this store, and I talked to a rep yesterday who goes to every single, you know, dealership within a 100-mile radius, and they see so many of the same employees going from dealership to dealership. But they know the dirt. They know why they left, and if they didn't leave good, and then that leaves a bad taste. Like, I've lost respect for people who've quit jobs that aren't mine because of the way they left.
For sure.
Guys that can make 6 figures at my job, managing a store, who worked for another store, who quit the wrong way, I don't want them on my team anymore.
Especially if you do it dirty.
Yeah, I mean, this is why this networking and leaving proper notice and not burning bridges.
Yeah.
I hate some of the people that I do business with, but they don't know that.
Really? You don't ever come across like that, buddy.
No, and I never will, because that's bad business.
Yeah.
And the business isn't just money. The business is myself.
For sure.
You are a business.
Yes.
That's why we focus so much on self-branding and how people view you and networking and how you come across and the way you have views and make decisions. It's because you yourself are a brand and you are a person, and you have to live with the decisions you make.
For sure. And people will judge you based upon those decisions. That's just human nature, to put things in boxes and classify them. So make sure that you are presenting the best version of yourself. Period.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple. And if you leave the job correctly, you can ask for references.
Right.
You know, what's crazy is I've had quite a few people who've turned in 2 weeks properly and then don't finish their 2 weeks.
Right.
And like, what does that tell you about someone? Like, the life is long and short at the same time. But life is long. If you can't suck it up and finish a 2 weeks at a job,
Right.
what does that say about you?
Right. Yeah. And especially if you're not like.
And if it's not mutual, usually people don't want you to finish 2 weeks.
Correct.
But if you turn in 2 weeks and say, that's great, I'm going to need you these last 2 weeks to finish up the jobs that you started.
Right.
And then you walk out and you get a job a mile down the road in the same industry.
Right.
I mean, that's just bad business. And we will use you for examples of how to do good business. We're not calling anyone out.
No.
These are realistic things that have happened, good and bad, that affect your life. And we're educating people who have less experience or that are underdogs who, you know, you can't learn this kind of stuff in school.
No.
You have to learn it through life. And, you know, this podcast is school to teach you the mistakes and failures that I've made so you don't have to.
Right.
But you have to listen and learn and grow.
So what was it like having, because I'm, a little bit privy, you've had some really intense situations with employees leaving. So what's it like to have a bunch of employees leave at one time? How do you kind of recover from that from your perspective as a boss? What did it feel like? What did you do to correct it?
I mean, it only builds more confidence in me on how good I am.
Right.
When you have a lot of employees in a business, I was an employee for so long. And then when you hire people to do your job, because you take other responsibilities within the company, and then those people leave, and then you have to go back to being an employee, and you realize how good you are, or what they were doing wrong or right. Or, that's what's making me a good educator now and trainer, building confidence that, man, I was right.
Right.
Because I've done training with guys and didn't get the results I wanted. And I thought it was me. And then they left, and I went and did their job and doubled the results and realized it wasn't them, and I was right. And now when I do training, I'm a little more confident when I train and a little more specific, like this will work and you have to do it. It's not a suggestion. Right. This is what you will do because it works. And I build that experience. And all those failures make you stronger.
Yeah.
It's almost like if you were injured, if you broke your leg 10 years ago, it doesn't really hurt now. You don't really remember that pain.
Right.
But you've gotten through it. And now you're walking.
Good example.
So I don't remember. I mean, I do remember how that felt the day that happened, and it sucked, and you think everything's over. But then when you look back, you're like, oh, yeah, that did happen. Oh, yeah, we're way better off.
Right.
And that's not just me. That's happened with other business owners that I've talked to, like with the exact same situation.
Right.
If people are going to leave and walk out, especially more than one at a time, you're only going to get better.
Right.
And the worst, that's almost scary for an owner to realize that and get that confidence and get better. Watch out.
Yeah. I like that it took you in that direction instead of holding you back, because I have seen people who let that type of thing destroy them.
Made me a bad motherfucker.
You are a bad motherfucker, buddy. You are.
Awesome. Do we have any questions? Are we still light on questions?
Light on questions,
Do you have
guys.
any questions? I mean, I guess you just hit me with your question.
I did kind of hit you with my question.
And
I never know how it felt. I mean, I sat here and had your back, like, whatever you need me to do, dude. Do you want me to stay late? You want me to come in early? Whatever.
You kind of answered it yourself. And this is, all right, so the number one thing that I find, real quick, here's a question for you. As I talk to other employees, and now that I've been an employee and a business owner, I feel like the employee has a lot more control over their destiny than just showing up and doing what the employer wants.
Right.
Go out and get your own leads. Put a little more responsibility on yourself to be a better employee. You were in the situation. You didn't own the place and you didn't have people walk out, but you did because you ran an internet department. Mm-hmm. And we had 6 people working under you at one point. Sure. When they all left, did you give up?
No.
Did you do their job of 6 people?
Yes.
Are you doing it now?
Absolutely.
Have you complained once about it?
No.
Did you even realize you were doing it?
No.
Exactly.
I love my job.
So there you go.
Give me more responsibility, buddy. We conquer the world together. I love working here.
And these are things that we've done. We're not just giving you advice without the experience.
Right.
We're not going to call people out. We've done it. We've experienced it. And that's all we talk about. I won't talk about something I haven't personally done or experienced, which is why we always appreciate you listening to the Underdog Society podcast. We'll catch you next week.
You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, SoundCloud, and TreverVarney.com. Have a great day, guys.
Hey, guys, as a special treat for listening to the Underdog Society podcast, if you go to Fiverr.com, that's Fiverr.com, go search David's Studio. He does all our production work. You're going to get a $5 discount by sending him a message. Let him know that you listen to the Underdog Society podcast, and that's where you found it.